All right, what's going on, y'all? Here looking at a package unit today. So we got this package unit. We've been having some issues with it. Last tech diagnosed that it seems like there was an airflow issue and also an overcharging issue. So we ended up quoting a to pull all the refrigerant out of the system, see what the total charge is in the system, and then also to replace this fan motor, because whoever ended up replacing this fan motor at one point ended up replacing it with a single speed fan motor instead of the OEM one, which is a 3-speed, I believe is what he said in his notes. So let's take a look at it. We're gonna look at this system, look how it runs right now, just, you know, check over work, just to see exactly what's going on, since we weren't the tech that came out here originally. Always check your systems if you have the time to be able to do so. So you never know what you might run into. All right, so let's start off by just gauging up to this unit. This unit is R-22. It's a Goodman package unit. Alright, so we got our low side right there. Where can we hook up our high side? Down here, right below. Alright. So we'll turn on both gauges. Hook up our low side up here. Hook up our high side right here. Filter dry don't look too good, but this is going to be just a recover and vacuum, no weld, just to see what the charge is looking like. And we're going to put the old charge back in, since it is R-22. We're just going to end up, and if the charge is good, it's perfectly good refrigerant. There were no electrical issues, no compressor burnouts or anything like that, no leaks that we're aware of. So we're gonna end up putting this refrigerant back into a recovery tank, just to be able to save some money on refrigerant, since R-22 is rather expensive. So we can look right here, open up our Measure Quick app, look at our pressures while this is standing. We are a R-22 system. All right, R-22, and this is a AC or heat pump. Hope it changes the refrigerant every time. Okay, so pressures are equalized right now at about 140, 140, if you can see that. All right. So then now, let's go ahead and jump this unit out. So we'll cover this panel. Oh, it just jumped by itself. All right, so condenser fan turned on, compressor turned on. Let me cover this panel right here, just so that way all the airflow is going through the coil, and not this big opening that we have right here. So we have that closed now. Let's get our temperature probe. And let's see if there's a hole here in the unit to be able to stick this through in the supply side or return side. Yep, right here. So this should be the return side of the coil right there. So we'll stick that in there. Make sure that's on Fahrenheit. And then we'll let that sit for a second. Or this, yep. That might be our supply side. I'll have to look into it. But we'll see based off of what our temperatures are reading, which way is the supply, which way is the return. This is our This is our other hole spot right here that we can stick our probe through. Let's see. So, pressures. Alright. Pressures are 64 psi on the low, 246 on the high. Let's get our ambient temperature right now. It's not too warm right now. I think it's probably about 80 degrees right now. Could be lower than that. Let's check that just to confirm. So, got that on right there. Yeah, so saying we're about 80 right now. You see that for our return drive oil, 81. So we should be at about 10, 20, 30, 110 PS, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. We're at about 115. So it is a little high. However, not something I'm too concerned about. Let's move this panel out of the way, the condenser oil. And let's take a look at coil. So the coil doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too dirty. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. It looks pretty clear. Doesn't seem like dirty coil should be really affecting my pressures. But we have pretty low pressure on the low side. Pretty high on the high side. So let's take a picture of our data tag. Let's look at our data tag. So does this say? So I believe we do have a fixed orifice on this one. So we're going to look at superheat. So for a package unit, if it is a fixed orifice, we want to monitor superheat. So let's take a look at our superheat on this. Let's go ahead and sand this pipe off. Just to ensure we have a good connection. Turn on our clamp. Alright. Let's get that on. Just like so. Alright. And then let's look back at our measure quick. See here. Got a 27 degrees of superheat. Oh, our pressure on the low side is at 61. Okay, 62. Now we're at 244 on the high. Oh no, we're on 410A. Why does this keep switching? That is kind of annoying. Okay, there we go. 61.8. We got a 1 degree of superheat. Alright, so we have a very low superheat. So we're letting quite a bit of liquid, which is why our coil is so cold, into our coil. 115 psi, 245 psi on the high side, 115 degree coil. Air temperature's at 85. So we're right at that 30 degrees. take a look at this. I have a cheat sheet chart that I take a look at sometimes. Very handy. So right here, so overcharged. If our discharge pressure and suction pressure are high, which isn't true, we have a high, we don't even really have a high discharge pressure. We don't have a high suction pressure. We have a low suction pressure. Low superheat, high subcool. We do have a low superheat, and then high amps. Sorry. So we have a low superheat, so let's follow down here. Low suction pressure, low discharge, low evaporator airflow. So we could have an airflow issue right now. It's looking like an airflow issue. So let's check out our fan. See how fast our fan is moving. We may have a low amount of airflow. Leave this compartment open and see what our pressures do, because I wonder if there might be something in our ducting. I believe the tech took out the filters before. The filters were dirty, but let's look at our pressures with that door open, so we know we don't have an airflow issue in terms of something like dirty filters or something like that, or let's say clogged ducting. Maybe our return duct might be squished. Take a look at our stuff now. Nope. Looks like it's staying the same. I'm gonna answer this phone call. It looks like we do have, I'm gonna change that fan first and see if that fit, and then we'll look at our pressures before I end up pulling any charge out. So we'll do that first, and let me get that fan up here and try that out then first. All right, now let's try getting this motor out. I'm gonna take these screws out on the top. Make sure you're bracing the motor at the same time. Screw. All right. That's the last one. Fully moving. Just gotta tilt it back. All right, pretty easy peasy getting this thing out. All right, let's not knock the panel off the roof. I would prefer not to do that. Alright. So, pretty easy getting the motor out. It's not too heavy. And then let's loosen the nut that is on the inside right here. Make sure we're turning it the right way. Oh. Alright, so that's loose. Oh. The rust is getting to it. This might be a pain to try and get out. Take the nut fully out. I'll throw it back in. Alright. I'm just going to twist this a couple times. Make sure it's all loose. Alright. Just make sure of that. Turn it over. And then we will unmount the motor with the blower wheel. Sure we save all the hardware from this. Have to grab some WD-40 for this. Throw some WD-40 in here. that might be just plenty. But we need to be able to get this motor out. There we go. WD-40 did the trick. Try and squirt some more WD-40 in there. There we go. Alright. Oh, didn't need to use a bucket. Alright. So, it's all out. Alright, so now we will finish getting this motor taken apart, which is just connected to this black so this white. Go. Okay. And then we will take off this. I believe it's a 5 microfarad cap. We'll replace it with a different one. We'll replace the cap as well, of course. Is 7.5. Should have a 7.5 in my van. So we'll replace it. We'll replace that. Alright. Motor's fully out. And we got the new motor right here. Alright. This one, okay, this one requires a 15 microfarad cap. Got our ground, our wires for our cap, and then this one uses kind of like a plug. So we've got to figure out exactly where these plug into, because we're not going just straight in for in. So we've got our number one terminal is going to be one of our lines. So this is a 230 volt. So one line is going to go to number one terminal, and then the other line is going to go to number 3, which is our medium, and then we have a 2 and a 4 for low and high. All right. Okay. Problem is, we have to figure out exactly which of these go to those spots. So we have a green, we have a black, we have a pink, and then we also have I believe that is a red that is just discolored. So we have 4 wires, I believe, that we have to use. And so we've got to trace those back. So let's take a look at that wiring diagram. So we can see right here, this is our board. We have a wiring diagram on this panel. So if you take a look at this. All right. So we find our blower. You can see condenser motor. Evaporator motor is labeled EM. So we locate EM right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have EM 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. So there's 5 wires that are going to connect to that motor. It's a 4-speed motor. It's a 4-speed motor. It's kind of scratched out, unfortunately. All right. So now we got on our unused slots, if you could see that, we have blue hooked up, and then on heat we have red, and then on cooling we have black. Right. Oh, I wish this wasn't scratched out. Let me see if I can find a wiring diagram on this by searching up the model number. Let's try that. So, found a wiring diagram, much more clear wiring diagram online. So we can see our wire code right here. So, see black. Okay, we'll focus. Black is B, blue is BL, and then we have PK for pink, PU for purple, R for red, Y for yellow. So now we'll go back up here to our wires that connect up to our fan motor. So we have a 4-speed motor, 5 terminals on it. Our R is going to hook up to heat. So red is going to be hooked up to heat, which I have right there, which I was able to read. B, which is black, is going to be hooked up to cooling, which I have hooked up to cooling. Okay, and then we have Y, which should be on unused, which I don't know where Y is. So I have no clue where that is even going right at the moment. And then we have BL blue, which should be on unused, which it is now. And then we should also have PU, which is purple, that connects up to, see, one of our L2 slots, which says we have quite a couple of purples. So it could be any one of those. So this purple right here, actual purple wire, is going to our inducer motor. So we're not going to touch that. We do have one of these pinks. I believe it's this bottom one. going over there to the other side where the motor is. But we have a wiring diagram now, so we can go ahead and follow that. Well, if we can find that yellow wire, we will try to. However, it is on an unused slot, so it's not going to be used anyway in the first place. So, but let's look into that. All right. Okay. So we have, I assume this one's going to be our blue, this one's our black, this one's pink, I believe, and I think this is our red. This one right here is red. This one right here is for sure pink. So our red was originally capped off, so we're supposed to be using this red. All right. Okay, so I guess first things first, we can get this fan motor in before we do that. Alright, so we've got to get the mounting on for this first. So we have to take this belly band off of our old motor. Small wrench. All right, so got the hanger on. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but you know, so I thought we'd just skip that part. So it's on now. So now we just gotta fit it into the blower wheel, just like so. It's already got some leftover WD-40 on it, so it should slide right in nice and easy. And if we think about how this is gonna go in, I'm gonna turn this about 180 degrees to fit it in there. So we gotta think about where we want our wiring. So it would probably be best. So this would point our wiring in that way. So we don't want that. So probably best to make sure our wiring goes something like that. So that it points outward, so it'll be pointing this way towards our wires. Alright, so let's just get this screwed in. Got our 3 screws with our washers and everything on them. Just gonna go ahead and get these in loosely, and then once we make sure it's placed right, then we can tighten them up. Right, just like so. Then we will go ahead and tighten these up slowly, one by one. Alright. That one's just spinning. That's not very good. Doesn't look like it has too much play anyway. There we go. Alright, now let's turn so that the set point of the blower, the motor bearing, is in place. And then we can start screwing in our set screw. Screw that in. We'll get it in nice, we'll get it in snug first, just so that we can check this blower wheel and make sure it's nice and even. Alright, so if we check this, looks like we do have a little bit of grinding on one side, so this blower wheel needs to come this way some. So we're gonna have to raise it as we put this set screw in. Alright. That's nice and clear right there. That looks like it's about even on both sides. So we're gonna go ahead and throw our set screw back in.